Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Readings. Tonight we have exceptional prose for you from three great authors known as Ivy Ngeow, D.H. Schleicher, and Andrew Bast. If I butchered anybody's name, I really do apologize, but I am very, very excited to read their work to you tonight. Thank you all for tuning into the show. Stick around after each reading to find out where you can follow and support these exceptional authors. Please follow me at Alec Pangea Author on Instagram and Alec Pangea-Author on Facebook. Please follow One True Promotion on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where you can catch all of our live streams and be first in line for our many exciting giveaways and fundraisers. Thank you all for supporting the One True Promotion brand. Let's begin our reading tonight with a little peek at Barker's Rules, my debut fiction novel, currently available on Amazon. Look at me, Barker said calmly. Melanie returned her focus to the hairy, pale face currently devoid of all but one mild half grin. Number one, you stay in the house. You don't go outdoors. You don't announce your presence to anyone walking by, although the odds of that are slim. You don't yell out the window. You don't stand in the doorway. Until further notice, you have no relationship with the outside world. Now, are we absolutely clear on rule number one? Yes, she said. Excellent. Rule number two, when I'm out, you will be locked in this room. Are we clear on rule number two? She nodded. Good. Rule number three. At night, while I'm asleep in my room, I'll give you free reign of the house. You can walk downstairs and make yourself something to eat if you're hungry, as long as you obey rule number one. And no banging on the doors, screaming, waking me up. Yeah, none of that. Got it? I got it, she said. He tilted his head and released her hands. You realize what these rules mean, right? What do they mean? She asked, hugging her arms around her torso, sitting Indian style on the bed. It means that when I'm home, you can roam the house all you like. Go into whatever room, drawer, cabinet you want. Go into the refrigerator whenever you want. If you're ever hungry and we're low on food, please do tell me, okay? Okay, she said. With a smile showing all of his bright teeth, he flicked a strand of her hair. Good. Oh, and rule 4, stay out of my room. Got it? Okay. He brushed her hair, fingers like little bugs on the back of her neck. She closed her eyes and let the insects roam her skin, as long as they didn't bite. Then she heard him say, in a voice that sounded possessed, robotic, if I were you, I'd break the rules. She didn't open her eyes. I won't, ever, I promise. Yes, you will, he said with the shadow of a laugh. I'll give you 3 strikes. Understood? Eyes still closed. She nodded her head. Look at me. She looked up. His eyes were so big, dark yellow, and maybe brown along the sides. And for the first time, she noticed there was an occasional twitch in his left eye. 3 strikes. 3 strikes. And I drive us back to Fargo and kill you and your family. Obey, and I'll be kind to you. Understood? She gripped his wrist gently. Please, please, I'll be good, I promise. I'll obey. He laughed, more than a shadow this time. You'll be happy I'm not holding you to that. But then maybe you'll surprise me. Thank you, she said on instinct, hands on her knees. Thank you. That's very kind. You're welcome, he said with an enthused smile. Breakfast? That was a quick peek at Barker's Rules, my debut fiction novel. Please buy my book on Amazon.com. Link to buy is right on my profile and on Instagram, right on my personal Facebook, and right on my description on my author page on Facebook. You can get an ebook for $3.99. You can get a paperback for $12.99. As of now, you will be first in line to get a copy of Barker's Rules. Thank you very, very much for supporting me. Now let's check the comment section real quick, see how things are going. And I'm not seeing any reports that we're having any sound issues, so that is good. So we will move right along. So let's continue our reading tonight with a little passage from someone who is very important to the One True Promotion team. That man is Andrew Bast. He is currently running tech for the show this evening, and I could not be more indebted to Andrew. I am very fortunate to have him as my literary agent, to have him as One True Promotion's chief operating officer, and to have him be really the promotional heart and soul of this group, doing as much outreach in the community as he possibly can, and really bringing us in many, many followers and much investment. Andrew is indispensable. And don't you know, he's also the author of The Sanguinary Song. You can buy Sanguinary Song on Amazon. In fact, if you visit my link on my profile and you look for, it will take you to a page where you can buy Barker's Rules for ebook and paperback. But right next to it, you will actually find a link for Sanguinary Song. Of course, it would be better if you visited Andrew Bast24 on Instagram and clicked on his links and gave him a little bit of a follow while you're at it. So please do visit Andrew's channels. Please do give him some love. But hey, don't take my word for it. Let's dive into this awesome story, and you'll see what he's all about. This is Sanguinary Song by Andrew Bast. Page 1. The branches were knocking at Christina's window. She had told her father that they needed to be cut down, but he must not have gotten around to it. Another bolt of lightning lit up the sky. She turned over on her side. If she didn't focus on it, she would forget about it. She closed her eyes to escape the next flash of light. At first, it worked, but then a loud, inescapable bang made her jump. Rolling her eyes, she hugged the pillow to her ear to no avail. The next clash of thunder forced her out of bed. Christina rubbed her eyes and unlocked her phone. There was one message from her friend Daniela. "Hey girl, just in case I haven't said it enough, happy birthday!" Smiley face. Christina smiled and quickly wrote back, "When are you going to be back in town?" Her phone pinged again. "We are on our way. Dad says we should be there by morning and that we are just going to drive through tonight. He says I should sleep so I'm not tired when we get there. Can't wait to see you. It's been so long." Christina closed her text and opened her notes application. She wrote, October 24th, 2042, 11:35 p.m. In 10 minutes, I'll be 13. Daniela and her parents will be here in the morning. I'm excited to spend the whole day with them. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I wish Daniela's family didn't have to move around so much. I've really missed her. Christina paused, looking towards the window. Natalie, Daniela's mom, was Christina's godmother. Both of their mothers had always been close, which led both of their daughters to be close friends as well. Even though her mother was an only child, Christina was raised to call them Aunt Natalie and Uncle Liam, out of respect. The McNallys were practically a second family to her, even if she only got to see them every so often. Christina breathed deeply, closed her notes, and looked out the window. The branches bounced off the glass as the wind bent the branches into submission. She reached over to her lamp on her dresser. She twisted the light switch carefully, but to her dismay, nothing happened. She rolled out of bed and touched her feet to the hardwood floor, the cold wood chilling her right through her socks. Christina then shuffled over to the light switch on her wall, flipping it on. Again, nothing. "Great," she said. Christina took a deep breath and opened her bedroom door. "Mom, Dad, the power is out. Anyone going out back to get the generator?" Christina peered down the dark hallway. Her eyes instinctively looked up towards the skylight that hung above the stairs. Lightning illuminated the hallway. Her parents' door was open, which was unlike them. No response. Christina rolled her eyes and opened her flashlight app on her phone to reveal the path before her. Maybe her parents had fallen asleep on the couch again. They had been working late and would often settle down to watch a movie, only to have the movie watch them. Just to be sure, she tiptoed over to her parents' bedroom and peeked inside. The light shined on a bed made with the greatest of precision. Her parents were in the military, after all, and nobody made a bed like they did. Christina then made her way downstairs. As she made her descent, she could hear the boards moan and creak as she brought her weight down upon them. When she realized her parents might be sleeping downstairs, she slowed her pace to quell the noise. When she reached the living room, what she found was a chilling breeze and an open window, flapping in the ongoing storm. She tensed and shuddered. She picked up the pace now, attempting to close the window before the next breeze came through. Just as she reached the window, a heavy wind slammed the house. The window shade came off its tracks and wrapped around her. A moment later, the wind steadied and then subsided. Christina grunted under the shade, throwing it to the ground. At the top of the pole where the shade was supposed to mount, the plastic bent, preventing her from fixing it. Christina closed the window and ran her fingers through her crimson hair, carefully crafting it into a ponytail, with the hair tie on her wrist. She could feel the goosebumps forming on her shoulders and rubbed them until warmth came back to her. It was at that moment that she felt that the floor was damp. She wasn't paying attention to the rain that had blown in from the storm, soaking her socks, as she went to shut it. Taking them off and throwing them into the corner, Christina got back to the task at hand. She shined a light over the living room. Both the sofa and couch were empty. Where were her parents this late at night? She used the light to illuminate the puddle on the floor beneath her. She knew her mom would never forgive her if she left the mess. Christina turned towards the kitchen. Another cold breeze swept over her as if a car had just rushed by. She felt her hand loosen on her phone, and when she looked down, it was gone completely, along with the light that guided her through the house. Christina looked all around her in trepidation. If the phone were undamaged, its light would be on. She knelt down in the dark, frantically patting her hands on the cold wooden floor. Where is it? Christina thought, anxiety rising. She had so many things on that phone, more than she was willing to lose. Christina patted the floor all over the kitchen, finding nothing. Had it rolled all the way over to the living room sofa? Incredulous at the thought, she fixed her eyes on the living room. That was when her eyes locked on the dark figure. Dad? Christina called out, more startled than she should have been. That open window was getting to her. Dad, come on, if it's you, it's not funny. Where's Mom? Christina waited for a response, and still nothing had come. Why was he doing this? Mom would kill him if he let the floor get wet like that. Christina looked back at the figure, narrowing her eyes. She crept closer, trying to find her dad's face. Instead, she found a pair of glowing red eyes, cutting through the darkness and settling upon her. Christina stopped, her heart racing. She felt a knot in her throat. Fighting to get out the words, Christina spoke. Who are you? She squeaked, her bravery deteriorating. Run, Christina told herself. Just turn around and run. She wanted to flee, but her feet felt nailed to the floor. Suddenly, the lightning flashed through the room, allowing her for a moment to see the blood-soaked smile of the figure sitting before her. As the darkness returned, all she could think about were the veins that bulged around his piercing red eyes. Christina felt herself lose balance, her mind in one place and her body attempting to make a break for the kitchen door. She couldn't keep her eyes off the figure as she hit the ground. She used her hands to propel herself backward, breaking free from the living room and into the kitchen. The figure did not move. His eyes followed her, as if he was stalking his prey. Suddenly, she felt a warm and wet feeling on her hands. Christina tried to backpedal, but slipped on the drenched floor and rolled onto her belly. She heard a chuckle coming from behind her. She spun around and noticed that the figure's eyes had faded back into the darkness. If he was still there watching her, she was too far away to make out where he was. Now lurking. Another gust of wind dashed beside her. The metal clang of an object fell onto the floor beside her. On her hands and knees once more, Christina reached around until she found a lighter. Christina fumbled around with the lighter, trying to get a firm grasp on the igniter. It had been forever since her dad showed her how. Christina carefully felt around for the flint wheel and rolled her thumb downwards, igniting a small spark. The darkness quickly consumed it. She tried again. This time a small spark rang out of the lighter. Come on, she cried, work! Christina's hand was trembling, almost dropping the lighter in front of her. She grabbed her wrist with her left hand and willed her shaking to stop. Her heart was pounding, her eyes searching around the room. Christina moved her thumb as fast as she could, hoping that the faster she rolled the wheel, the faster it would ignite. She had almost given up, until a flame sprung out of the lighter. its amber glow shimmering off her face. She looked down at her hand and realized that they were not covered not with water, but with blood. She wanted to scream, but no sound came to her lips. She went to wipe the blood on her shirt, but it was already all over her pajamas. Christina felt her eyes beginning to water. She fought back the tears as long as she could before she forced herself to look behind her. Slowly, Christina lowered the layer. She kept her gaze away from the light as long as she could. She had to know what had happened to her family. There at her feet were her mother and father. They were piled on top of one another, both with staring eyes open and mouth gaping at the ceiling. They were motionless, either fear or pain frozen on her face. She couldn't tell how they died. What she could see, however, were the letters DD carved into their foreheads and the initials surrounded by an inverted triangle. Christina dropped the lighter. The puddle of blood extinguished its flame. In pitch blackness once more, Christina shuffled backward until she felt herself back up to the kitchen cabinet. She looked around for the figure's eyes out in a sea of darkness. Her right hand felt around for the top drawer above her, where her mother's always kept the knives. If she was going to die, it was going to be with a fight. To her surprise, the lights came back on. There was a quick flash, forcing Christina to cover her eyes, rubbing them woefully. Unable to see in front of her, she felt her legs pushed out from under her, sending Christina crashing on her back. When she regained her sight, a man stood over her, a wide, bloody smile on his face. His eyes hungered for her, as his face once again became deformed. His eyes glowed bright red, and the veins in his face bulged from his skull. Christina tried to move, but with surprising speed, he was upon her. The man latched his massive hands onto her arms. She tried to wrestle free of his grasp, but the harder she fought, the tighter his grip became on her. He then tossed Christina with ease into the living room. She landed first on her right arm, her body twisting violently, and fell onto the living room table. The table was in pieces around her. Christina cried out in pain. She saw a piece of wood lodged in her leg. She also felt pressure on her right shoulder. When she glanced over at it, she could see a little bulge in her skin where the pain originated. The man took his time. As he moved over to the helpless girl before him, he had a confident sway about him as if everything he wanted was falling into place. The figure no longer smiled, his smile now replaced by a circular row of jagged teeth. His jaw stretched outward, while his teeth pushed forward. The creature was drooling over his next meal. He was savoring every second of this. The fight was his the second she descended the stairs. The only thing Christina could not understand was why he was prolonging the end. We will take a brief intermission there for a little bit. One True Promotion actually has an event coming up, which will be a charity stream. So we're going to play a little clip of that real quick for you right now, and then we will wrap up our reading of Sanguinary Song. So give me one quick minute to find that. Thank you, everybody. And now we are back, and we will continue with our reading of Sanguinary Song. If you are enjoying this book, by the way, please follow Andrew Bast at AndrewBast24 on Instagram, at AndrewBast-author on Facebook, and at One True Promotion on YouTube. That is Andrew and I's YouTube channel. It is a channel co-owned by myself, by Andrew, by Carrie Liza Cub, who is with us in the comments section. Welcome, welcome. And by Nick Geo Arts, Nicholas Georgel, who is with us in the comment section as well. And you'll hear a little bit more about both of them later. But that is our shared YouTube channel, One True Promotion. If you are enjoying the show, please subscribe. Thank you. Her attacker stopped abruptly, his head turning to the side. She could see him clearly now. Aside from his teeth and eyes, the creature before her looked human. He wore a tattered and blood-stained t-shirt and jeans. He was pale and tall, with thick brown hair sticking out of his scalp, curling on top of his head. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Christina shouted. There was no response from the man. What are you?" The man refused to respond. He approached her slowly. She tried to move, but her body was sore and her spirit was broken. The man stood over her now, observing her closely as he dropped to his knees on top of her. Please don't do this," she heard herself beg. Her back was hurting and she felt dizzy. Christina shook her head to keep herself awake. She could not fall asleep here. If she did, she knew it would all be over. The creature examined his finger as if trying to determine which one he would use on her first. His head shifted almost as if he were counting his fingers. The man stopped as his index finger stretched outward. The rest of his hand closed into a fist. His gaze shifted back to her. Why are you doing this? She wailed. She didn't want to die here. She had to escape. But how? Still, the figure studied her, as if he had seen her before. Then, the creature finally broke his silence. You look just like her. And that is where we will conclude our reading for tonight. Who, I wonder, is her? If you are interested to know, you will have to read the rest of The Sanguinary Song by Andrew Bast. Please do support this marvelous author. This is his first debut novel. It is selling. It is selling so many copies. I cannot believe it. You definitely don't want to miss this. Now, before we get to our next author, I want to make a couple announcements to you. I want to tell you, if you're enjoying the show, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. I want to tell you a little bit about the team here at One True Promotion. So, I'm so glad you keep joining us for live readings and Drop a Line. Thank you for contributing your awesome work and staying up all night listening to all my questions during our interviews. Your time is very valuable to me. Your work is fantastic, and we want to keep giving back to you. Please keep in touch with our team at One True Promotion. Have a book signing coming up? We'll promote it. Planning a virtual book signing, giveaway, charity stream, watch party? Let us know. We'll share the links with all of our followers. Interested in meeting the founders of One True Promotion? Contact us for a chance to be interviewed on Drop a Line, have your work featured right here on live readings, or meet us for a live writing party on Friday nights from 8 to 10 for Writing Sprints, which is headed not by me, but by Andrew. Writing Sprints are a hoot. Please do check those out. Drop a Line and live readings are awesome. I have so much fun reading your stuff to a live audience and then getting to introduce you to the crowd on Drop a Line. But the one thing that bums me out is that only about 500 people out there in the world even know about Drop a Line or live readings existing on this channel, because this channel only has on Instagram, which is our primary source, 550 followers. The followers on Facebook and the subscribers on YouTube are actually at lower numbers. So this is great stuff. We're having a great time, but not too many people know what's going on here, and that really breaks my heart. It saddens me because I want to reach thousands of people and give them this wonderful opportunity to be seen and have their work promoted. But the good news is you can help me. If you're watching the show right now, all you got to do is hit the little mail button and send this episode to all of your followers. Let them know that every week there's a guy on the internet who can read their work or interview them for an audience that just gets bigger and bigger with more followers. The best way for Drop a Line and live readings to really take off is to get these numbers up. Please spread the word and give people my email address, alecpangia@gmail.com. Just send the thing around. That's where people can send their work to get on live readings. So please do, send the email address around. It's totally cool. I love getting emails from people. I love hearing from people. Pass that baby around. Thank you so much for being here and for being one of the first supporters of this expanding community. Thank you so, so very much. And lastly, I would like to tell you a little bit about our team at One True Promotion, who I am so, so honored to work with. We have a great team here at One True Promotion who work behind the scenes to ensure that our posts and live streams bring you quality engagement. For that reason, I would love it if you would help me thank our members by supporting them. Our creative consultant, Carrie, is on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts to bring you Tangible Voices. In Carrie's words, Tangible Voices is a space where true voices from the past and present can be uncovered, shift our perspective, and resonate with our lives today. I love Tangible Voices. It immerses me in stories of great African-American women who helped shape our nation, recounting their lived experiences in the classroom, the streets, and more, as if I were actually there experiencing it myself. If you're inquisitive, you love history, you want to have detailed conversations about our society, about the greatness in our society, Tangible Voices is a must listen. Episodes are short and concise, Carrie's reading voice is spectacular. And the best part is it's all for free on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts. While listening, please do follow the podcast, and please do follow Tangible Voices Podcast on Instagram, please, so that the community can grow. Thank you very much. Our Director of Media and Art, Nicholas Georgel, is a regular on Writing Sprints, engaging fans of One True Promotion with his live drawing sessions. In addition to Nick's terrific art, he is also a writer. Buy his book, Life is Death, The Death of the Earth. If you're an anime fan, you will absolutely love this book. He blends together so many interesting things. Like his featured art, Nick's book is sharp, colorful, and delves into conflicts both social and existential as a fiery experience with grief suddenly spreads into so much more. Life is Death, The Death of the Earth had me hooked, page 1, and we will be reading it soon on Writing Sprints, on live readings. Thank you very much. Please follow him on Instagram at Nick Geo Arts. Want to see him in action? Tune in for Writing Sprints every Friday from 8 to 10 on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where Nick is a regular, entertaining us by capturing his process live. Folks, thank you so much for supporting the team at One True Promotion. Thank you very much. If you're hearing any running around, rummaging around in the background, the dogs are apparently eating at their bowls. Usually they just sleep during the shows, but tonight they're kind of walking and eating, and one of them was actually snoring and groaning earlier. So they just want to ruin the show for all of us tonight. It's cool. That's what pets are for. So I hope you enjoy them off screen. So, all righty. Now, finally, we're about at the halfway point, and we will continue our reading with Miss Ivy Ngeow. Tonight, Ivy Ngeow has for us a sample from her WIP, which is her work in progress. It is called Love Her Madly. It is a dark suspense set in 1970s Chicago. Your American accent would be so perfect. Oh, that's her talking to me. All right. It is a dark suspense set in 1970s Chicago. He pushed the rusty wrought iron gate. Its creak was as loud as a cat's cry. The front yard and path was overgrown, dark with shadows. But when he looked up, he saw it. 3 floors high, in Indiana limestone as smooth and creamy as his own young face. Oh my, he whispered. It had turrets and wings, and a blue-black slate roof gleamed like scales, the steep slope of which was pierced with round-eyed porthole windows. If this mansion was a monster, it would fly. About 50 yards away, he parked his 65 Red Rambler, which, when he was 18, his grandpa had bought him. He wasn't sure if it was good enough to be seen. Not yet. Not until he got used to the place. Well, after he'd walked a short distance up the Grand Tree-lined and North Lakeshore Drive, he already knew that he could get used to living here. No, working here, he corrected himself. He walked tall, straighter, his chest expanded, shoulders risen. The path was covered with strangling weeds, thorny bushes from which insects seemed to swarm out of when he disturbed the prickly undergrowth. The paving, which he could see was once ornate, colorful, geometric, were missing or cracked. He knocked and waited. He noticed an old bell, a large nipple with an even larger areola. It said press, so he did. He listened, but there was no sound. That'd be the first thing he'd fix around here, he thought. The door opened. Well, hello and good morning, said the old man. The well made him seem friendly. The frail man had very sparse, fine white hair, a little stoop, and his voice was thin. He was wearing clothes from at least 100 years ago. No, maybe 30, but at least he was well dressed. At least he was even dressed. You heard of old people who wore what they slept in all year round. How do you do? You must be Jerry. Jerome Francis Syracuse. You can call me JJ. Everybody does. JJ felt awkward, like he was losing the ability to speak. Not that he was at all a great speaker in the first place. He had always been the quiet type. Lord knew how many got into trouble for opening their cake cave. Well, which do you prefer? Jerry, sir. Alfred Sutton. He held his hand out. JJ took it with a firm shake. You can call me Alfred. Yes, sir. The professor sent you? Yes. No, my girlfriend. Fiance. He tripped over the word. Fiance, she told him. No, not fiancé, hon. It's for N. And small talk is for N to him too. Is foreign, and small talk was foreign to him too. He left all that to Dallas, the art world, and so on. She told me about the job. You ever done anything like this before? A little, he lied. I am good with electrics, plumbing, carpentry, gardening. I can fix most things. That was a bigger lie, but he would learn pretty quick as he was only 22 years old, and he'd learned so much already. He had no choice. Since they shut the factory, he had to take anything. Odd jobs, temporary jobs. This was the big one. A permanent gig. Dallas was going to have her fancy wedding. They talked about it enough, and JJ was tired of listening to her. All the girls at Marshall Field's departmental store where she worked were excited, she said. It was always the wedding, the wedding, the wedding, the wedding. He felt like a wallet, an open wallet. Jerry? Jerry? Yes, sir. Mr. Alfred's voice interrupted him. Come on in. Let me show you around. I have my resume here, sir. JJ reached into his black leather and chrome briefcase, which now felt redundant. It was brand new, and Dallas had bought it for him from Marshall Field's. Mr. Alfred smiled, showing his false teeth, white and straight, and then he shook his head and waved as though waving an insect away. Dallas said he could easily return it to get a refund since he'd never use it again if Mr. Alfred did not want to see his resume, or if by some insane chance JJ didn't get the job. The old man already trusted him. Dallas only knew of the job through the professor at the art school she was modeling for. The professor, she'd said, trusted her in return. He was probably sweet on her. They all were. Dallas was a pretty little tomato. Actually, she was a work of art. He went in and slightly bowed his head. He shuffled and cleaned his shoes on the doormat. He did not know what to do with the briefcase. It was awkward as a dog who didn't want to go somewhere and decided to put it down in the hall on a very long hall table, covered with paper, tins, jars, so much stuff JJ's eyes could not take it in. This is the hallway, said Alfred. The dark mahogany staircase was carved and sweeping. The stair carpet, once blood red, was now worn and faded. Wallpaper, once grand and in dark alternating stripes, was torn and peeling. Stained at the top where there must have been a leak once, this was a grand home, though thought JJ, as he stared at the huge monkey's tail handrail starter at the bottom step. As he stared at the huge monkey's tail handrail starter at the bottom step. As you can see, there are things to fix in every room, said Mr. Alfred. He did not stop at all. He continued to wander around the rooms through the heavy oak polished doors which were open. He opened and shut the doors which weren't, and JJ was already swimming in the information he had to take it. He didn't even write anything down. How was he going to remember all this? Should he go back to the briefcase? Dallas had packed a notebook in there the night before. A smart black hardback one from the art school. Don't think too much. This is just to give you an overview, Mr. Alfred said, as if answering JJ's worried thoughts. I don't want to go into a home. My family want me to, but I was born and raised in this house. Your job as a handyman and caretaker is to help me fix everything here. I am capable of living here on my own. Yes, I understand, sir. Basically, I just need your help to fix this damn place up, and we haven't even got to the grounds yet. Are you good? Have you got green fingers? JJ looked at his hands. Mr. Alfred laughed, a thin but loud squeak, which sounded like an old basement door's hinge. And that is what we have for Love Her Madly. Please follow Ivy Ngeow on Instagram. Please follow her on Facebook. She is a fantastic author. I have read multiple excerpts of her work. She is a twice published author who is a thrice published author, actually, who just recently published her third book. And she is an award-winning author, the award-winning author of Heart of Glass and Cry of the Flying Rhino, which have received international recognition. So if you're interested to follow an author who's been around the block and knows her stuff, please do follow Ivy. Please do follow her. Ivy, thank you so much for submitting your work tonight. This was Love Her Madly. Alrighty. And now, my friends, we are going to wrap this evening of live readings up with a short story from the set known as And Then We Vanish. by the very esteemed author who was kind enough to submit their work earlier today, David Schleicher. David, I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. Please correct me if I am not. And this story by David is called Boko Haram's Greatest Hits. Jasmine entered the pub where only a few other weary souls were gathered. It was dark, sepia lit, and humming with TVs and congenial human murmuring. It smelled like a pub should: meat and potatoes, split beer, tabletop cleaner, and moldy wood. Snow tracked in on the floor quickly turned to water. She sat down at the corner stool where she leaned her violin case against the bar. Some storm, she heard patrons at a table remark as they watched the updated weather forecast on the TV. There was a picturesque dusting of frozen precipitation outside, but nothing more. It was certainly not the snow apocalypse they had predicted late last night. It was enough of a panic, though, for many flights to have been delayed. So here she was, at midweek, mid-afternoon, in some towny bar, just looking to kill time. "What can I get you?" a bartender asked. "A Chardonnay," she replied in a pleasant sigh. Wes came out of the men's room and stumbled back to his stool, one over from hers and against the wall. He conspicuously looked her up and down and noticed the violin case against the bar. Travel worn and adorned with stickers from all over the world: San Francisco, London, Paris, Cairo, Lagos. He was instantly drawn to her well-dressed Africanness. The academic braids, the glasses, the smart sweater, her stylish boots and well-fitting dark jeans. Jasmine was slightly put off by his hipster scruffiness: the shaggy hair, the beard, the flannel shirt. Had she realized someone was sitting so close, she might have opted for another stool or even a table. She sensed him checking her out, and it made her uncomfortable as she took a sip of wine. "Another beer, please," he called out, scratchy voice to the bartender. He shuffled on his seat, stroked his beard, and cleared his throat, then turned to her and said, "School closed today?" "Pardon," she said, not looking at him, focused on the TV. "You're a music teacher," he said matter-of-factly. She feigned a smile and turned to him slightly. "You're a psychic?" He laughed, too loudly, then coughed and cleared his throat again. "No, I just saw the violin case and thought, with the snow and all, maybe you were a teacher enjoying an unexpected afternoon off." "Well, you caught me then." She took another sip of wine. A father with two young children, a girl and a boy bundled up and excited to be going into a bar with Daddy on a school day, entered and took their seats at the high top by the door, with the father having to help them both up onto the chairs. "I want soup," the little girl announced. "Can I tell you my knock-knock joke now?" the little boy asked. "Wait a minute for the waitress, not yet," the father said. West continued. "Or you're a singer. I can tell by your voice. I bet you have some pipes." "I can do it all," Jasmine said. "I bet." The bartender placed another bottle of beer in front of Wes, and he took a long draught, dribbling a bit in his beard as he placed it back down on the bar. The news on the TV had switched from the weather report to some international story about a terrorist attack in Nigeria. "New Boko Haram video taunts the West and takes credit for recent attack," the caption read. "Boko Haram? Is that some rapper?" West joked. Jasmine did not look amused. No, I'm just kidding. My ex though always thought it was such a shame that those fuckers took that name ISIS, Such a pretty name for a little girl, she always thought. She moved to Denver to sell weed. Legit now, can you believe it?" Jasmine tried not to roll her eyes. "Why didn't you go with her?" "Oh, it wasn't right anymore. We had to go our different ways. But I'm really into music and all. I mean, I didn't go to school or nothing for it. I'm not, what would you call it, a theorist, but I've traveled with some bands, done some sound work on the road and in studios with buddies, that kind of thing. And I know what I like, and I know what sounds good." "Really?" "Doubt I'm as well traveled or versed like someone like you, but I've got some strong opinions. The state of hip hop today, Like back in the day, it used to be about something. Like NWA were all political and shit. Now it's just about bragging and balling and, well, there's no struggle anymore. Just a bunch of rich dudes bragging about their fake gangsta lifestyle and dollars and hoes. Now Boko Haram and ISIS, that's some real gangsta shit, And they'd be kicking it old school, dropping videos all over the place." Jasmine downed the rest of her wine and flagged the bartender for another. She quickly looked over the menu and was surprised to find a hummus plate listed next to burgers, sandwiches, and beef stew. When the bartender came back with a second glass, she asked for the hummus plate. West went on. Food here is pretty good. I come here a lot. Live right around the corner. But I don't mean to be all down on hip hop. I mean, popular music in general these days is just so fake. So, like, what do you teach? Jazz and classical. Yeah, I could tell. You had that look about you. You teach at a college around here? Just on the road right now. Oh, I would have thought you would have been from around here. Were you doing a concert or something like that? Something like that. Little voices chirping, knock, knock, and giggling in the background were almost enough to drown out this hipster doofus. Jasmine's head spun ever so lightly, almost ached. She hadn't eaten anything since that granola bar at the airport at 6 in the morning. She thought about taking her violin case and hitting him over the head with it. That thought brought a smile to her face. Name's West. Did I say that already? Man, here I am talking away and being so rude, didn't even properly introduce myself. What's the smile for? You knew a guy named West before? Wait. You dated a guy named West before? No, in fact. You might be the first West I've ever met. What's your name? Jasmine. West laughed. Oh, man. Like Aladdin. Jasmine kept smiling. Yes. Like Aladdin. She took another sip of her wine and now wasn't sure if she was successfully holding back a roll of her eyes or not. Surely he would be too drunk to notice either way. The bartender presented her plate of hummus and pita. So, like, what artists or bands do you listen to? West asked. Look, Wes, I'm really just trying to eat right now and relax. Wes drank some more beer and looked sheepish. I just thought someone like you would have really interesting opinions on stuff. Jasmine felt a pinch of regret as she took her first bite. Poor guy was just trying to flirt with her. What was the harm? Was she being mean? Look, she said, I don't mean to be rude. It's just talking about music is like talking about work for me, you know? Sometimes you just don't feel like talking about work. West, who never had a stable job in his life and didn't fully grasp the idea, still seemed happy with his explanation and perked up a bit. Oh, okay, well, let's talk about the weather then. He got up from his stool and fumbled around his pockets. I'm going to catch a smoke outside. I can tell you don't smoke or I would invite you. But when I come back, let's talk about the weather, or Boko Haram. He stumbled away, still fumbling through his pockets and leaving his jacket on the stool. Some time passed. Jasmine finished her hummus and pita and the wine. Her head was buzzing now. She watched the news, which had gone from talk of Boko Haram to more domestic concerns of a serial bomber on the loose. She half listened to the father and the two little children and their countless back and forth knock-knock jokes. The one about how 7, 8, 9 made her laugh and think of simpler times. For a moment she had forgotten about Wes, but as she paid her check, she wondered what had happened to him. She got up from the stool, put on her coat, and zipped up. She picked up her violin case and ventured back into the urban wilderness. She breathed in deeply the cold, moist air. It was still lightly snowing, but it melted instantly as it gently collected on her coat. She took in the shops and other restaurants along the street with old trolley tracks running through the center. Parked cars were leisurely spaced in the snow along the curbs, and a few made their way carefully down the wet road. She wondered if she would even be able to hail a cab in this neighborhood. How had she gotten here? She had been in 7 different cities in the past 2 months and had the sudden panic over the over-traveled nomad. She couldn't remember what city she was in. Then she heard him. Hey, Jasmine! She turned and saw West, red-faced, shivering in the alley beside the pub, puffing on a cigarette. Ended up taking a call from a friend, he said. Lost track of time. Glad I caught you before you left. Jasmine surveyed the scene. There was another soul around with everyone else in the city at the moment, huddled safely and warmly inside. Wes laughed drunkenly. What say you take out your fiddle and play? Jasmine smiled and stepped into the alley. God, you're a fucking idiot, aren't you, Wes? She swung her violin case as hard as she could right onto the side of his head. He collapsed into the slush. She knelt down and dug through his pockets, pulling out a billfold. $45. She pulled off the clasp of the fold and tossed it into the slush and then stuffed the bills into her coat pocket. Jasmine walked calmly down the sidewalk in the hazy light of the snowy late afternoon, the bomb inside the violin case still awaiting its final destination. With any luck, tomorrow she would be at the top of the news instead of Boko Haram. Real gangsta shit, blowing up the charts. Intense. Wow. That was Boko Haram's Greatest Hits by David Schleicher. Thank you so much for sharing, David. And that is our last submission tonight for live readings. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Follow the authors here, please. Follow Mr. Schleicher, follow Miss Ngeow, follow Andrew, follow me, Alec Pangia. I was the fourth. I totally forgot about that. Please buy Barker's Rules. Please follow Alec Pangia. Please follow One True Promotion. Especially, please subscribe to One True Promotion on YouTube, where this is streaming right now. Thank you so much for supporting us. We are indebted to you. We really thank you for joining us tonight on live readings. And please enjoy this outro video if you are on Facebook or YouTube. And good night. And